The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network. Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop list needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I hope you're doing well, having a great week wherever you are in the world. So this past weekend, I got lured to a movie with my 3 daughters called The Backrooms. Have any of you seen it? Have you heard of The Backrooms? I had never heard of this. My children, all 4 of them, have heard of it. It's some online thing about never-ending rooms, that just keep going, almost like a game. But there was a movie released, and as I'm sitting in this thing, I'm probably the oldest person in the theater. It's mostly teenagers, young 20s. And I thought, okay, what am I doing here? However, as the movie begins, it appears it's about a man who is the owner of a furniture store, and he's recently gone through a divorce, or his wife's kicked him out and he's struggling. And in the furniture store, he discovers that downstairs on the lower level, there's a wall that's like this transparent wall that he can walk through. And in this area, which is like another dimensional realm, I guess you could say, he continues to just keep going and going and going into different rooms. It looks like an office building, an empty office building, if you will, with a few things every now and then, like some chairs here and there, or a stop sign, or, some random things. But he's walking around, going through doorways, going through tunnels, it just keeps going and going and going. So a little ways through this film, I'm going, there's something deeper going on here. This is not just a film about a man walking through endless rooms, getting nowhere. And what I found out at the end, and I'm not going to ruin the film for any of you listening that go see it, but it appears to be about the subconscious mind and the ability for it to keep looping and looping and never getting over anything, And it was actually quite brilliant. But, as I left the film, we've gotten to a deeper discussion. I thought, yeah, this is really deeper. This is a person who had trauma. They are endlessly looping in their mind, and it's a never-ending nightmare. And you could say that that's what the mind really is doing, right? Any of you that kind of dive deeper and think, why are we here? What is happening? We keep looping and repeating ourselves over and over like we're in a habitual human pattern, And it really got me thinking, as I did a show a couple weeks ago called Beyond Thought, and we're so attached to the mind, it's very difficult to get to a place of beyond thought, right? So I wanted to go today, and let's talk about the gripping mind, the mind that we all have. And on a larger scale, we all share this vast collective mind, and how attached it gets to everything. And I want to break this show down into 3 components. The first being, let's look at the mind's attachment to the physical, objects, things, getting stuff in our life. And then let's look at the intangible level, the mental level, the attachment we have to thoughts, beliefs, etc., all those things. And then lastly, I want to tie in the spiritual level. What's happening on the spiritual level, and how can we see this a little bit differently? And I want to use A Course in Miracles to go over this. And it's all going to tie in. In that show Beyond Thought a couple weeks ago, I used the analogy that we're all in this sticky web, that we all have a web of thoughts, beliefs, memories, all the things in our life. And it's like we store it in this web in our energy field. And if we attach to it too much, we create little knots. And everything is just getting jammed in there, right? It's getting stuck. And then we can really create a bigger web. We start creating layer after layer after layer of all the attachments that we truly have. So in using the same idea that we're spinning a web all the time. The mind is spinning and spinning and spinning. And it gets very attached to what the eyes see. right? We're projecting a world out in front of us and we're very attached to the external. Everyone is. What our eyes see, we think is real. We give it meaning, right? And so we get attached to whatever it is we want. For instance, most of us like to buy things. Maybe you love clothes. Maybe you love shoes. Maybe you want to buy a new house. Maybe you like buying really nice things, luxurious items. Or, you collect something. So you have cabinets of whatever you collect that you like looking at it. It's whatever it is, whether it's baseball cards or stones or, whatever people get into. It could be anything. But people get very attached to things, and each item or object that we have, we can give it a meaning, right? We can give it some deep meaning, and therefore that object may be difficult to part ways with for some people, right? If we get into hoarding and all these things, people get very attached to their things. It's like, well, I don't even know what's there because I have so many things, yet I don't want to get rid of anything. you know? So there's so many ways to look at our attachment to stuff. But what is happening when you get an object, right? It's almost like the mind goes into this frenzy that it thinks it needs everything. It's satisfying a need like, oh, if I just make enough money, I can get the car that I've always wanted. And then I'll be satisfied. Then I've made it. Except then what happens? It's on to the next thing, right? I want that brand new piece of jewelry, or I want that big, huge ring that I'm dying to have, or I want to go on this extravagant vacation, right? I mean, it just never ends, right? We're always wanting more and more and more. And this is just how the ego mind operates, doesn't it? It's fixated on objects, stuff. I mean, it's really amazing if you've ever taken the time to just clean out an area of your home and you go through it and it's like, how in the hell did I accumulate all of this shit and not even notice? Right? It feels so amazing to go and clean out an area, doesn't it? Not too long ago, I went into my closet and I noticed that, man, I got a lot of shoes that I don't wear. I probably will never wear them again. I think I got rid of two huge garbage bags full of shoes and donated them. I thought, I'm never going to wear these. The days of me wearing higher heels are over. You know? They're beautiful, but my feet hurt. Give me something comfortable now. Stylish, please make it look good, but, it's got to feel good on my feet. I thought that would never happen. It's happening. And the objects that are in the world, right? There's levels to these objects. Some things are made with high quality, some things aren't, some things fall apart, some things aren't worth anything, some things are worth a lot. And we can put an attachment on our success financially, right? And we identify who we are with the money that we have and what we've accumulated, right? We start to identify as that. The mind just latches on. If you can imagine just like a fishing pole just going whoosh, and then the fish is taking the bait immediately. That's how our mind works. The ego mind, especially, will just grab it and put it in your back pocket. Grab something else, hold on to it. Grab the next thing and keep storing it away until eventually you have a whole huge bag full of stuff. Right? And what happens to your energy field? It starts getting heavy. This is not a show to say you can't buy things or enjoy the things that you love in your life. What we're really talking about here is the attachment to that object. So you might want to ask yourself something like this. If I were to let go of that item tomorrow, would I be okay with that? If I needed to sell my house tomorrow, am I going to be okay with that? How attached am I to my home? A lot of people have a hard time leaving their home, especially if they've been in there a long time. And the thought of getting it all ready to move and pick up and start something new somewhere else can be overwhelming and stressful. Or maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum. You just can't sit still. You want to move on and on and on all the time. you know, that person is not attached to stuff, right? So it's really about the objects that you have in your life. What is the story that you have about those objects? What meaning are you giving them? And then if something were to happen to that object, how would I feel about it? Would I be okay if I lost, my wedding ring? Would I be okay if I lost a picture of my family from a very long time ago. People that have a fire and their whole place burns down, they know what this is like. They lose everything. Everything's gone. And many people have a very traumatic experience with that. Everything's gone. Everything they had in their life, how they identified in their life is destroyed. And it's very difficult for many people. I sometimes wish that I would have a fire and, and then I could get rid of all the stuff that I don't care about anymore and just start fresh. You know? I'm not wishing I had a fire literally, but you know what I'm saying. Sometimes I'm like, God, I'd love to just sell everything. Just get rid of all of it and let's just start over. Let's start something new. Because as we move through our life, right, if you're doing a lot of changing in your life, it's almost as if you don't even recognize or identify with the old person you were. You feel completely different, you know, and as we transition into new phases of life, you do feel different. So the mind has a very strong grip on things, stuff, the material plane. It does. And you can just go through a series of questions. How attached am I to this object? Make it really simple. If I were to lose it tomorrow, would I be okay? You know, if my car was gone tomorrow, what would I do? If something happened and I lost my job and I couldn't afford anything anymore, would I be okay with that? How would I react? How attached am I to the way I am living right now? You know, many people experience a sudden accident that might change their life physically forever. And now they have to redo everything. And how attached is the mind to that? Some people probably go through that experience and it's rigid and rough and they're stubborn and resistant. Yet other people probably say, you know what? This is how it is now. I'm going to move through this period and it is what it is. So you can ask yourself, am I a person that is okay with what is? Or am I resisting what is? And how attached is my mind to keep grabbing a hold of things? And when I lose that one thing, how quickly is my mind going to want to replace it with something else? So that's the surface level. That's the ego at its finest. Keep distracting and projecting and holding on all the time. Keep the sticky web and keep building it, add more layers and layers of density in the field so we never free ourselves from it. Just like in the movie The Backrooms, right? We're just going to keep going and it's extending forever, all these little crevices of the mind. But there's got to be a way out. So that's the material plane, the surface level of the mind. Keep distracting you on the level of form. That's what the ego's first priority is because we see the world outside of ourselves. But the next layer to look at would be the intangible layer of ourselves, and this is solely up in the mind. This includes thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, opinions, judgments, right? All the things going on in your mind, your reactions, your resistance, events, memories, past, present, and future, ideas, imagery, all the visuals you're telling yourself, all the traumas, all the experiences you've ever had get stored in the mind, right? In these rooms in your head. Or I just think of files in like an endless cabinet, right? You just have an office file drawer that's infinite and you just keep filing away all of your ideas and beliefs and thoughts that continue to race through your head. And these, I think, are even stronger than the physical level because most of us are really attached to the way that we think, right? I mean, just look at the world today. Everybody's got an opinion and everybody's right and everyone's way is correct. The other side's wrong. This is the mentality that we're seeing. Whether or not it's actually true or it's being pushed on us, I will leave you to ask that question. I certainly ask it all the time. Is that really the world we're living in? Or is that just what, if you turn on the television, they want you to see? But it is true that we all have thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and we attach to them. And a belief is really, really powerful, isn't it? What I believe has got a hold on me. I may not even know it. I don't even realize that I'm holding on to that belief and it's controlling me. And the only way you know it's controlling you is if you start to lose your grip on that belief or something starts to shatter that belief. Or let's say this, you start losing your identity. So something happens and you're suddenly forced to change. Whether you've just gone through a breakup, a divorce, your job ended, you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, someone recently passed away, you just went through a traumatic experience of any kind, it doesn't matter. Something happens and your identity with who you believed yourself to be is now changing. And that is a difficult thing for the mind to comprehend because it always wants total control. It wants control over everything. The ego is so good at that. But typically, what happens is if you start losing your identity, unless you're going to just dissolve everything and really have a true waking up, but it's usually a slower process than that, right? So you start fizzling out your identity as something, and then what happens? The mind's going to come in and create a new identity. And it will continue to do that over and over and over and over. And to get through this world, we all have some sense of self, right? We all have our own preferences in life, don't we? We like certain things. And it's good to know that about yourself. It's good to know what you like, what you don't like. But how attached are you to those preferences? Like, would you be okay if that choice was not available for you? A classic example is like if you're trying to go somewhere, like you're going to do something fun. And for instance, a few months ago, I was trying to go to the zoo with a couple of my kids. And we show up and they're like, oh, you got to buy tickets online. I'm like, really? Since when did that happen? I didn't, I've been to the zoo a lot. We never had to do that before. So I was like, wow, okay, I guess we're not going here today. You could get really mad at that, right? You could just, oh my God, so stupid. I'm so mad at them. And then you kind of hold a grudge like all day, ruin your afternoon. You completely melt down inside and you kind of have this energy about you. You know what I'm talking about when something pisses you off. Or you can just say, well, I screwed up. I should have looked into that. And I guess I'm not supposed to be at the zoo today. you know? And I'll do it another time. And next time I'll be prepared. So there's always this like learning experience. I can either be really upset about it, wish the situation was different, resist what is, or I can just roll with it, go with the flow of what is actually happening. And that would be a different way to see it, right? But the mind wants to grip a hold of that preference and the idea that it thinks it needs on any given day. I want this new job. Well, they're not offering me that job, so it's probably not for me. And that's hard to do because we want and have expectations and ideas of what we think we should be in the world. And then when we get rejected, that becomes very difficult. And you can pout about it. You can whine about it. You can make yourself miserable about it. I think we've all been there. Throw a little pity party in the afternoon. you know? Or you can say, you know what, I'm not going to let this get me. There's got to be another way. And maybe this is just not the right path. So I'm going to look into another option. But on the intangible level of the mind, it's very, very good. It's a masterful operation at grabbing hold of something else. When we're talking about this movie, The Backrooms, there was a lot of trauma from one of the characters in the film. The female in the film had a lot of trauma. Her mother was agoraphobic, would never go outside, and would wall up the windows, with newspaper and all kinds of things so that the daughter that she had could not see outside. She could not go out. The mother was constantly telling this little girl that the world would attack her. It's a horrible world. It's a mean world. You're going to get hurt out there. You're going to, something's going to happen. And so the girl develops, as you can imagine, a lot of trauma about this situation that her mother was forcing her into. And if anybody goes through something like this, you start creating a story around what's happening, right? You're creating a story about the situation you're in, and you might hold on to that story for your whole life. And it can get really challenging. You can get stuck in that and feel like you can't even breathe. You can't move forward. It's like an inward spiral downward. The stories that we tell ourselves are very powerful if we allow them to be. And that's the key. How do you allow your own story to dominate your life? How many times do you tell the same story over and over and over again of why you are in the situation you're in? As if you need an explanation for why you are the way that you are. And maybe it's just a constant going in the past, holding on to it, and it prevents most of us from seeing beyond it. So the intangible level of the mind is really where the trouble is. Everything's starting in the mind. And if you're trying to fix something in the physical world, you got to rise up into the mind to discover what's happening to solve it, to break the cycle and all the looping that's going on. And really, it's just habits. The mind is just habitual. And the perpetual looping and the repetitive gripping mind wants us to stay comfortable in that pattern. The ego mind really wants us to stay right where we are It will even think that it's giving you growth. It will even project like, oh, I'm growing. But really, we're still looping. We're still setting goals and trying to achieve and grab a hold of that, got it, and then you keep going and looping and looping and looping. That's sort of the ego's version of being spiritual. But now that we've touched on the material level of form and the things we hold on to with our eyeballs, right? And looking a little deeper at the intangible level of the mind and its ability to grip us with thoughts, beliefs, opinions, judgments, the things that are constantly going off inside the mind, the mental circular chatter going on. Let's go deeper with this. This is where I love to go because what is really going on here? And how do we get to the bottom of it? How do we look at it clearly and go, aha, this is what's really happening? And let's go to the spiritual level. Now, we all have differences of opinion, don't we? We all have our own vantage point and perception of life. We all view things differently. Doesn't even matter if we all saw the same event. Everybody that saw that same event, most people will tell a different story. One of my daughters was talking about how she let go of caring what other people think of her. She said, because I can't control what they think of me anyway. And I said, you're right. You never can. So what's the point? If you're in a room full of 100 people and you walk into it and everyone sees you, each person is going to see you in a different way, given their own personal background, experience, projections, memories, things they're holding in their own life. They are using that to perceive you in their own personal way. And each one of us is going to do it differently. So there's no point, right? There's no point trying to appease or please other people or worrying about what they think because you can't control what they think or believe anyway. So we all have this. We all have these differences and we hold on to them. However, there's one belief that we collectively share. There's one, and it's the most powerful belief there is. And A Course in Miracles spends its entire book talking about this, but it's the belief in separation. And you might be thinking, what do you mean in separation? And the Course would say it's our collective belief that we are separate from God, that we are separate from reality with a capital R, that we are separate from the whole or our home, our true home. And from the Course's take, has nothing to do with this dual world that we're living in. So if we collectively share the belief in separation, and we must, right? Because we're collectively believing in a world of form. We all see each other. We see each other's actions. We see the world moving. We think we're going in some direction, right? Past, present, future. We're all getting up in the morning, checking off the to-dos, surviving, doing what we need to do to pay the bills, keep a roof over our head, feed the family, do some fun things in the middle if we can, and enjoy life. We're all doing that. We may disagree about how we should do it. What's the best thing for the planet? You hear all this out there. Everybody's got their opinion. How do we know what's right or wrong? How do we know who to believe? Because everybody is perceiving this world differently. But the one common theme is we all believe there's a world. Right? We believe it. And that's a strong collective belief. The belief in separation is what's holding us and keeping us gripping a hold of stuff, of things on both the surface level and the intangible level of thoughts, beliefs, etc. It's this fundamental belief that keeps the cycle, the habitual patterns, and the looping of the mind and the backrooms, apparently, going in a continuous, never-ending cycle. And you might think, well, I don't know, is that true? And you have to ask yourself that. I don't know. The Course in Miracles is trying to explain it to us, and then some people it may resonate with, and others say, no, that's crazy. And we continue this cycle of projecting out into the world, of creating new things and keeping the cycle alive. We continue it willingly so that we never have to uncover the real problem. Where we're really seeking freedom and liberation of mind, and God may not really have anything to do with the world. Now, that may be a hard concept for so many people to even fathom, right? It might even threaten or offend people because, the Course's stance is that if the world is not really God's world, God is God, God is the only thing that's real, then this is just a made up reality. It has nothing to do with God. It could offend and threaten religion, right? Every major religion is really saying that this world is God's world. God created the universe, created our earth, created everything here. So to get to that level and addressing and really looking at this belief in separation could potentially start the dissolution or the dissolving of everything you thought to be true in your life, in the world around you, and your identity itself. That could start a whole slew of events that the ego mind, quite honestly, is never prepared for. You know? It's just not. And it's completely normal for anybody who's starting to question themselves or the world or question beliefs and thoughts, and you start going a little deeper with it. It's very, very normal to start feeling uncomfortable and unsettled about this whole thing. Your identity is going to start feeling threatened. There's going to be the birth of a deeper fear involved. That is very normal. The ego's not going to like it, but it's normal. You know? I was thinking about this earlier as I was sitting down to talk about this, and a thought came to me as I was just writing out a few little notes, and it said, a free mind would need nothing from the world. And I thought about that a little bit deeper. A free mind would need nothing from the world. And if we're looking at that from A Course in Miracles viewpoint, it would truly mean that God does not need a mind. The mind is something that we do here in the world. The mind is what needs to continue itself over and over and over. But a truly free mind would need nothing of the world, meaning one would eventually return home to reality in God. So while we're here in the world and we try to free the mind, we won't really truly be free until we're back in reality, right? But is it possible to start looking at it? Is it possible to dive a little bit deeper than the surface and a little bit deeper than the intangible attachments that we have that the gripping mind loves to keep us entertained with? Is it possible to look, just look at the concept and belief in separation? That not only do I believe that I am separate from the whole, that I'm separate from God, but we collectively believe it. And the collective has a really strong hold on all of us. There might even be tricks in the collective that we as a collective can continue and make things amazing here in the world, right? You hear the narratives out there. Everyone wants to join the bandwagon and save the world, which is noble. There's nothing wrong with trying to make the world a better place while we're in it. But on a deeper level, looking at it from a metaphysical point of view, not saying don't live your life, don't pursue the passions that you have, absolutely do all that. Live normally in the world. But underneath it, and I like to think of it as spiritual multitasking, is that I know on a deeper level that our real home is in God. And that what I see, what my eyes are seeing in front of me, the objects that I'm attaching to, the things that I'm accumulating and think I need to have, the beliefs, stories, and ideas, experiences, events, and traumas that I'm holding in the back rooms of my mind have nothing to do with our home in God. That's the responsibility that we take when we're ready to really wake up. We have to take responsibility for our attachment and belief in the gripping ego mind. And there was a line in this movie I saw last weekend, and it was an interesting one. It caught my attention. And it was about this man. He was sitting in one of the rooms. It was a very strange scene, I'm going to be honest. I was like, what? You know? But the words that he used, and he was really having difficulty accepting his new reality, that his wife was leaving him, and he was becoming very, very strange in the process. His behaviors were strange. And he said, when I'm in here, I don't have to change. It's okay to stay this way. And that gave me a little smile because I thought, there's the ego. There it is on the movie screen in front of me, reminding me how easy it is to stay attached to the story that I'm telling myself. It's so easy to do it. I could just keep doing what I'm doing. I could just be cozy and comfortable in here. I don't need to change. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to take responsibility for anything. That's what the ego is telling us. It is. But if you're ready in your life to sort of break free and not necessarily like, I'm going to free myself and I'm going to be enlightened tomorrow. That's not what I'm talking about because I don't think that's our choice. And this is just my opinion. You can think whatever you want of it. I personally think that something greater than ourselves, beyond anything we can comprehend, brings us home. I don't think that our ego minds are going to do any such thing. And until the ego is fully dissolved, until it takes its nap permanently, and when we see that we aren't what we thought we were, that there's something greater, there's something more, there's a spirit here, like a messenger waking us up, reminding us of where we're really from, guiding us back to our truest nature. When we start seeing that, we can start noticing how the mind is grabbing a hold of our reality every waking moment. We can see it. When you start to wake up and when you're ready to look, and that's really what it is, it's just looking. It's getting curious about what's underneath all the baggage and seeing clearly, admitting what's going on, admitting what I've been doing. And then on a deeper level, it's that collective belief in separation. Many people spend a lot of time looking at all of the stories that they tell themselves. Maybe you're attached to an event that happened in the past and it's really harming you and you want to address that issue. I think that's amazing. People have the courage to go look at something that was harming them, to get over it and deal with it. And then there's a lot of people that go into past life regression and they want to go back to the past life and look at all that. And that's a choice, right? I guess you could do that. But I can't help but think, why would we stay stuck looking and looping at every single event that ever occurred in the history of our lives? I'm talking multiple lives, millennia of lifetimes that we've reincarnated. Why would we spend another millennia looking at each little detail? Isn't that the mind keeping us in the back rooms, keeping us looping? It's never ending. When the real solution is just looking at the original separation, that belief that we are separate from God. Why can't we just take it there? Why can't we just go right there? Every time that I get stuck in my life with anything in front of me, let's say I'm dealing with an attachment to something and I can't get out of it. I'm stuck. Instead of looking at the attachment and the object I'm attached to or the thought that I'm attached to, whatever it is, instead of looking at that, why not say, this is all happening because I am believing in the separation. So everything I see in front of me is going to be met with either resistance or acceptance. Everything. And you could make it so simple. You know, I've tried this in my life where I am having an issue. Maybe I'm having an issue with somebody in my life. Maybe my husband and I got into an argument, or one of my kids and I, or a friend, or whatever. And you get into that argument. And I know each one of you listening can think about a time where you were not happy with somebody around you, you know, and maybe you're having a little argument and you're both speaking your mind and it's not going so well. You can look at that argument and on the surface, right, you can address everything that needs to be addressed, how it's affecting you in the world. You do the normal thing that we do in the world with people. But underneath it, and you don't say this out loud, but underneath it, you know what's going on here. All of this is always happening because my belief in separation, that I believe I'm separate from God. I'm creating this whole story out in the world all the time. And when you start to do that, you start letting go of things a little bit more. Things become lighter and you address the issue, but you move on easier. You don't take it on. You don't grab a hold of it and stick it in your sticky web and create another layer. You don't. You start to actually feel lighter. You start removing those knots in the web. You start eliminating the back rooms. There's not so many anymore. The looping becomes less and you start freeing the mind. And that's always the aim of this podcast, to free yourself, become a little bit lighter, get in touch with the spiritual side, seeing beneath the surface, seeing beneath the thought that's going on in your mind to the depth that's really sitting there. So for any of you interested in seeing a really weird movie, but I will tell you there's more going on. It was like a really interesting psychological thriller in a way. And it left me at the end going, aha, I know what they're trying to say to all of us that watch that movie. And I'm sure that many people who see it have different interpretations, but I think overall, we're looking at the continuous looping of the subconscious mind. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you can take a look in your own life and start looking at the surface level, the intangible, and then the spiritual, and just, start on the surface and just go beneath the form and just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and asking yourself these questions and see where it is that you get hung up. Like when you ask yourself a question and you feel that gut punch or you're holding on, it's an issue for you. How you react when you hear something or a question you're giving yourself or somebody says something to you, how you react is a good sign of where you're still holding on in your life. And that's simple, right? And you can apply that and put your glasses on and look deeper anytime you wish. So I hope you guys have a great week. I've recently updated my website on my homepage. I have 3 different offers that you can get on and take. I've got an awakening quiz, which gives you kind of an idea where you might be in your own journey with a podcast playlist that may help you and meet you exactly where you are. I also have an awakening symptoms checklist, gives you a general idea of things that may happen as you start to experience shifts in your own consciousness. And then I have a more in-depth journal prompt guide called Busting the Bliss Myths, because there's much more going on in spiritual transformation than just bliss and ecstasy and all these things. And the reality is those are just experiences that the mind is trying to hold on to. The real depth comes when everything starts fading and falling apart, and then we need help when that happens. So for anybody listening that needs a little extra or you're interested, just get on my website at livelikeeden.com. And you can grab all those free guides for yourself to help you along your own unique path and your own unique spiritual journey. Have an amazing week, everybody. I'll see you next time. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at livelikeeden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in awakening's darkness. Take my awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.